Dean Moriarty. This is all far back, when Dean was not the way he is today, when he was a young jail kid, shrouded in mystery. Then news came that Dean was out of reform school and was coming to New York for the first time. Also, there was talk that he had just married a girl called Mary Lou. It's that passive sense, there was talk. Who's talking? We don't know. That passive verb, there was talk, gives you the sense that there's this wide community, passing word, mouth to mouth, of the coming of a mysterious spiritual figure. First reports of him, news came, there was talk. So language is this communal set of rumors spiritualized by its very vagueness and shared quality. And then it's just fascinating to listen to what Dean says. Now, this is on page 2. This is how he talks. All this time, Dean was telling Mary Lou things like this. Now, darling, here we are in New York, and although I haven't quite told you everything that I was thinking about when we crossed Missouri, and especially at the point when we passed the Boonville Reformatory, which reminded me of my jail problem, it is absolutely necessary now to postpone all those leftover things concerning our personal love things, and at once begin thinking of specific work-life plans, and so on, in the way he had in those early days. His language is a sort of mishmash of poorly used academic locutions. Work-life plans. It sounds almost like corporate speak in a way. It has that dry quality to it. And then on the top of 3, we get another example. In other words, we've got to get on the ball, darling. What I'm saying, otherwise it'll be fluctuating and lack of true knowledge or crystallization of our plans. So this is not yet that idealized speech that Carawack is dreaming of when he writes the list of essentials for spontaneous prose. Dean's language is not that in these passages. His desire for the intellectual download from Chad is not what's going to make him the figure of the new language for Sal. Rather, it is another kind of language that he represents that will be that kind of germ of what Sal is looking for. This is, you see also on 2 at the beginning here. I went to the cold water flat with the boys, and Dean came to the door in his shorts. Mary Lou was jumping off the couch. Dean had dispatched the occupant of the apartment to the kitchen, probably to make coffee, while he proceeded with his love problems. For to him, sex was the one and only holy and important thing in life, although he had to sweat and curse to make a living and so on. You saw that in the way he stood, bobbing his head, always looking down, nodding like a young boxer to instructions, to make you think he was listening to every word, throwing in 1,000 yeses, and that's right. There's this sense of enthusiasm. So his response is not an articulation of some thought, but an effusion. Yes, that's right. It's a visceral response. And you see it even more clearly on 4. So Dean is staying with Sal. And Sal has been writing, and they're ready to go out. And Sal says, hold on a minute, I'll be right with you as soon as I finish this chapter. And it was one of the best chapters in the book. Then I dressed, and off we flew to New York to meet some girls. So I'm going to skip along a little bit. Let's see. Actually, I am going to read that part. As we rode in the bus, in the weird phosphorescent void of the Lincoln Tunnel, we leaned on each other with fingers waving and yelled and talked excitedly. And I was beginning to get the bug, like Dean. He was simply a youth, tremendously excited with life, And though he was a con man, he was only conning because he wanted so much to live and get involved with people who would otherwise pay no attention to him. He was conning me, and I knew it, for room and board and how to write, etc. And he knew I knew. This had been the basis of our relationship. But I didn't care, and we got along fine. No pestering, no catering. We tiptoed around each other like heartbreaking new friends. I began to learn from him as much as he probably learned from me. As far as my work was concerned, he said, "Go ahead. Everything you do is great." He watched over my shoulder as I wrote stories, yelling, "Yes, that's right. Wow, man." And phew. Wow is Dean's word. Wow is the kind of word that means nothing, but it suggests the immediacy of Dean's engagement. So all that talking on the bus and the way they're moving their hands, the bug, that's all where this language is rising from. That's where the new language is going to come from. And you can see how Sal assimilates that on page 35. This is just as he is coming into Denver. I said to myself, wow, what'll Denver be like? I got on that hot road and off I went in a brand new car driven by a Denver businessman of about 35. He went 70. I tingled all over. I counted minutes and subtracted miles. Just ahead over the rolling wheat fields all golden beneath the distant snows of Estes, I'd be seeing old Denver at last. I pictured myself in a Denver bar that night with all the gang, and in their eyes I would be strange and ragged, and like the prophet who has walked across the land to bring the dark word. And the only word I had was wow. So Dean's sense, I will do this, and please forgive me, I will sometimes slip into calling him Dean, because Dean, never mind, you know what I'm saying. I will sometimes slip into calling him Neil when his name is Dean. Dean has already projected this mode of language into Sal. So even as he's saying to Sal, teach me how to write, what he's doing is teaching Sal how to write this kind of book, how to be the prophet of wow. This is all over the text. If you look at on 62, page 62, it's in these little stories. Remy woke up and saw me come in the window. His great laugh, one of the greatest laughs in the world, dinned in my ear. And then if you just skip up to the top of 63. The strange thing was that next door to Remy lived a Negro called Mr. Snow, whose laugh, I swear on the Bible, was positively and finally the one greatest laugh in all this world. The laugh is a lot like the wow. It's that sound you make just because you're experiencing something, just because you're having a response to what's in front of you, something someone says. Okay, that's another example. And the last one I'll give you is on 55. This is when they've gone up to the mountain pass after getting in fights in the bars in Denver. In the whole eastern dark wall of the divide this night, there was silence and the whisper of the wind, except in the ravine where we roared. And on the other side of the divide was the great western slope and the big plateau that went to Steamboat Springs and dropped and led you to the western Colorado desert and the Utah desert. All in darkness now, as we fumed and screamed in our mountain nook, mad, drunken Americans in the mighty land. We were on the roof of America, and all we could do was yell, I guess. Across the night, eastward over the plains, where somewhere an old man with white hair was probably walking